I don't know about you guys, but I've noticed a shift that I'm seeing in a lot of modern commercials lately. Part of the shift that I'm seeing is cool interiors with warm slashes of light coming through the windows. It's sort of a heightened early morning look or a heightened afternoon look. And I really like this look, so I've always wanted to give it a try. So I figured, being the insane person that I am, I'm gonna put together a 30-second commercial, and I'm gonna do an in-depth breakdown of the lighting and how I did it. This commercial was lit using primarily the new B500 light from Zhiyun, and so later in the video we're going to walk through the pros and cons of that light, and I'm going to give you a real quick review and rundown of my thoughts on the light. This video is sponsored by Motion Array, so without further ado, let's take a look at the commercial. So what I really want to capture here is what I think is sort of the modern 2024 commercial look. Obviously, this is not the look of every commercial across the board. I can't show you how I'm lighting the entire commercial because it would just take forever. But this video is going to be very informal. I'm going to walk you through my process, through my headspace, why I'm making certain decisions, what camera settings I'm using, etc. I have intentionally set up this room to have all the practical normal fixtures on. Camera exposure, etc. is not set up, so let's dial that in. Okay, so first off, I like to set the general room tone, the general ambiance, and overall feel of the scene first. So I know I want a coolness to the shadows. I don't want pure black shadows here. So first off, I'm going to turn off these practical lights or set lights. I'm going to close this because I know that this is too bright in the camera, but I still do want a little bit of coolness coming through. So in the room, I actually have practical lights on. They're set to a warm white. They happen to be RGB lights. So I am gonna dial them in, not quite to just a straight up 5600 Kelvin, but a slightly cool, almost tealy blue. And I'll show you what that looks like on my color wheel. So right about there. Okay, and that again is just to make whatever fill is in this room to help supplement it and make it a little more blue. Make the shadows bluer on this set. Next, I have the Zhiyun B500 right out this window. This is going to be my primary motivating key for when I'm sitting in the shot here. So I'm going to go ahead and power that on. But before I do that, just so you're aware, my camera is set to 1/48 for shutter. It's f1.8 for iris, and it's ISO 800, and the white balance is 3800 Kelvin, and you're gonna see why in a second. Part of that is because I know that my daylight sources are gonna be 2700 Kelvin because I'm going for, like, again, warm morning shafts of light. So I want sort of a neutral white balance to keep the ambiance of the room cool, but keep those shafts warm. So I'm gonna power on the Zhiyun B500, and that is at 2700 Kelvin. And I'm gonna power it to 100% because it has to compete with the sunlight that's already coming through. It really has to overpower it as much as we can. So here I've got the Zhiyun B500. This light is very, very bright. It also gets very, very hot. And because it gets hot and it has a fan, it gets very loud as well. So it kind of is a perfect light for this outdoor kick through the window situation. It can also be a great key light behind diffusion, etc. But if you're doing something like an interview, it can get fairly loud. So I think for this application, it's essentially perfect. And it is essentially my key light as well. All right, so that is the B500. You can see it's very sort of slashy. It's harsh, it's hard, but the color temperature is looking good. I am gonna adjust the ND once I get all my other lights set up, but for now, things are looking good. And if you see me looking down at my phone, it's because I'm monitoring on an app called Monitor Plus, which is very helpful for these kinds of situations. Okay, next I have a GVM 650B outside this window. I need some really bright light to essentially slash this background, really make it pop. I don't know why I'm yelling. I have a mic right here. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be so loud. All right, again, that's set to 2700 Kelvin. I'm gonna step outside and power that bad boy on. All right, so I got this 650 powered to 100% and at 2700 Kelvin. And I'm just gonna have it blasting through the wall. It's gonna be essentially a background light and also a shaft of light. Okay, so you can sort of see how it's coming in to the kitchen. It's slashing on the background. I took some time to really angle it up to get it slashed. This is where having an external monitor helps, so you can see at what angle you're hitting. And really what I'm trying to do is like hit as many spots as possible to get texture. So I have it in the background here. I have it on the countertop here. I don't have it on this right here, and there's a reason for that, and we'll get to that in a minute. Next, let's bring up the overall fill of the room. I want, again, a little more of that cool light to fill in the shadows. So what I have here is basically just an 100 watt, or I don't know, it's a Suit Photo 100. And this is actually even cooler. It's set to 5100 Kelvin, and that's really just to get some more coolness in the shadows here. So my phone monitoring app crapped out on me, and now I'm using this contraption, which is like absurdly huge for, I don't know, this is not, I hate gear. May I just say that? I hate gear. I know a lot of people love gear and everyone obsesses over gear, but a shot like this requires a lot of gear. And it just makes me sweaty, and it's 100 degrees outside, and then once you get one thing set up, the battery dies on something else. So anyway, all right, let's continue. Okay, so here we have our fill light. I'm essentially bouncing it off the ceiling in the background. We are getting some shadows, but we're not really going to be able to see those. And again, it's just filling in the shadows with sort of that blue tone. You can see it really hitting me here. If there was someone in the background, this would not work. I would bounce it more off the ceiling, but for this particular shot, I think it's gonna work just fine. Let's clean up this key light a little bit here. It's essentially a slash light. The main thing is it's slashing kind of my arm here, but let's make it a little more pronounced. So first off, I'm going to fly in a scrim. I think it's 2 stops of diffusion. This is just one of those like 5-in-1 silks. And what I'm doing here is essentially cutting everything except the bottom. So am I still getting that? Not really. And the idea there is to really soften up the face, which I am not doing yet. So let's fly that in a little bit more. Perfect. So you can see it's still hard on my body, but it is soft on my face. And then what I want to do is get a little more slash of light on this table here. It's just lacking a little bit of dimension and pop. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to fly in a small rig 60 watt. Which barely does anything in this situation because it's really competing with daylight and a lot of other lights. But it's going to have a little bit of a kick to it, hopefully. So this is at 2700 Kelvin, and it is at 100%, 60 watts. As you can see, I'll just take it out for a second, put it back. It's just adding a little bit of kick. If I had a brighter light, I would do it, but I'm running low on lights here. This is the thing about a set like this is you actually do need a lot of light. I know I try in these videos to do as much as I can of like light with one light or this tiny light or whatever, but I think a lot of the times people also exaggerate that. So here I have a 230 by, and it is again at 2700 Kelvin. I have a Fresnel lens on it, and it is at 67%. This light is really just to add a little more slash. And a little more to my key light. And you can see it's still pretty much diffused by the diffusion there. It also makes it look more natural, makes the light look more real and natural and more like a hard daylight source. That's looking pretty nice. I'm liking what I'm seeing. I also like that my shadow side is clearly defined from my lit side, but it's not too dark. It's not black, it's not in shadows, and there's sort of that blue morning ambiance in there. And let me just make sure that my outside lights are at the full brightness that I want them at. They're not looking as bright as I thought. I'm outside, so the GVM is at 100%. I'm gonna go ahead and raise it up a little bit. And I'm gonna walk in my Zhiyun just a little bit. What I did there was I raised up my GVM 650. I wanted a little more light bouncing off the counter here. As many pools of light as we can get, the better. And then I also walked in my Zhiyun B500 to get a little more light here. So let's see how it's looking here. So at the moment we have ambiance practicals, we have natural daylight fill coming in, we have another sort of ambiance fill light here, mostly getting the side of my face and filling in the shadows on the background. We have a Zhiyun B500 blasting through the window. That's one of our most powerful lights. Then we have a Suit Photo 230 by with a Fresnel lens at about 67%, 2700 Kelvin, shining through this two-stop silk with a little bit coming under the bottom here to get sort of this hard slash light here. Again, looking very natural and nice. And then we have a 60-watt small rig light, just adding a little bit of pop to that table. So I think lighting-wise, we are done. Now for the pièce de résistance, as they say, which is haze. You guys know I love haze. I don't think haze is for everything, but I think it's great for this. The one caution with haze is you really don't want it in the foreground where your subject is as much as you can help it, because it's going to really kind of muddy up the shot. It's going to add kind of that smokiness. So it's really ideally more of a background thing. And I have this little Ulanzi portable hazer. I think there's a bunch of these now. At the time, it was like the only one. But it's really cool. And it works really well. And what I like to do with the haze is, again, I don't want to like go crazy. I just want to fill in the spots where I know the light is coming from. So I kind of follow the path of the light, which in this case is really going this way. Do a little swirl here. Hope that I don't set off the fire alarm. Let's do a little on this kicker here. I'm really gonna go nuts because this is gonna dissipate by the time the camera's rolling. And I think that's fine. It's gonna settle. But let's see where we're at. Looking good. And then I just tweaked the ND. I'll be honest, because of the way my particular ND is, I guess, annotated, I don't know how many stops I just did, but I am within proper exposure here. I'd like a little more slash. I think it's not quite hard enough. So I'm just gonna lower this guy a little bit. And then raise him up a little bit. And then broaden the source. And that's gonna give me a little more key and a harder slash. Yeah, that's nice. I like that. That looks more like real sunlight. Okay, and I think we are ready for our hero shot. I'm not gonna do makeup, but I'm super sweaty and I am gonna wipe away some of that oil. It's 100 degrees outside, folks. All right, I'm gonna center up in the frame here, and then I gotta do my slider. There's a lot of Bluetooth and batteries and all that fun stuff. Slider battery is dead. Don't make movies. Just do something else with your life. It's not glamorous. Even real sets, they just smell cheap. It's like everything's foam. Gotta run upstairs and get a battery. This is fun. I'm having fun. Question for you. Did you like the annotations that I was using on this video? 10 years ago, I would have had to make those from scratch in After Effects, but I actually got those from Motion Array and was able to use them right in Final Cut, which leads us to our sponsor of this video, which is motionarray.com. So I pretty much use Motion Array every day. But what's great about Motion Array is I can go to video templates, I can dive right into Final Cut Pro, and they have tons of customizable templates, text, motion graphics. You can really narrow down what you want, and then pretty much all of them you can customize. They also have plugins, presets, etc. Not only did I annotate my video using title plugins from Motion Array, but I actually use Motion Array for the stock footage that you see in this video. So as you collect footage in Motion Array, you can add it to a collection and simply click Add. And then I'm going to show you my collection here. And here you have it. Here's the stock footage that I either used in the commercial piece of this video or was planning to use. I also have sound effects and a photo for the website that I used in the video. So there are fantastic music, sound effects, and footage options within Motion Array as well. And then what's also incredible about Motion Array is they have a video collaboration tool right within the platform. So if you don't want to pay for a whole extra service, you're already paying for Motion Array, well, you've got a review platform right within Motion Array for your clients to leave notes on your videos, annotations, specific comments, etc. And for the basic plan of Motion Array, you get 250 gigabytes of storage right off the bat. That is incredible. Click the link in the description to sign up today. Thank you, Motion Array, for sponsoring this video. Let's get the slider going for our hero shot. What's a little bit crazy is, you know, everyone's obsessed with these big lights, and it is crazy how much light you need. Like, these lights are not doing that much to the set. So it's tough when you put lights outside, they're not doing a lot. I'm gonna make one more tweak. I think it's a little too cool. So I'm gonna set the camera white balance to 4,000 Kelvin. Warm it up a little bit. Get that modern commercial look. And then I'm gonna reduce the ND just ever so slightly. And then because I've done that, I'm gonna reduce the fill a little bit. I don't like that as much. Okay, it feels like my background light is doing nothing. I don't know what happened to it. Let's tweak that. There we go. So we're catching the refrigerator and a little bit of the door there. It still is like shockingly not very bright for a 650. I'm so sweaty. This is reality, Greg. Name that movie. All right, let's haze it up one more time because we lost all the haze. So one thing I am realizing is that my windows have ND on them, and I think that's killing the light a little bit. So that's definitely a factor. Okay. We are now ready for our modern commercial hero shot. Let me get my book. The shot starts with me essentially looking at my phone. And then as soon as I know that the camera's coming back, I'm gonna pick up my book and enjoy life. So this character is just relaxed. He's enjoying life. He's loving his waist. I don't remember what it's called. All right, guys, that's the breakdown of this shot. I hope you learned something, and let me know what you think. All right, so let's talk about the pros and cons of the B500 light. For the sake of time, I'm not going to get into all the nitty-gritty specs that you would find on a B&H page about this light, but I can just tell you it is very, very, very bright for a light of this size, for a light without a ballast, and I think that is one of the primary highlights of this light. No pun intended. I think given the output of the light, it's very well priced at $720, but on B&H it's currently $580, which in my opinion is just an absolute steal. The light has dual fans, which is part of why you don't have a brick. So this is part of the most shocking thing about this light is there's no ballast, there's no power brick. It's just a AC power cable that plugs directly into the back of the light, and that's it. The light is incredibly lightweight. For a light of this output, which the light that I have that's most comparable to it is a GVM 650, to get all the output that you get out of that light in a light of this size and this form factor with no ballast and without that extra weight. When I first pulled this light out of the box, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, what am I looking at here? It has internal fans, which means no ballast, no bricks. It's very compact given its output, and it is very lightweight, which means traveling around with it is a lot easier than it would be with an equivalent light with all the ballasts and controls. Now, what are some of the cons of this light? Well, how does it stay lightweight? It's all plastic. I think given the trade-off for the lightweight, I think this is okay, but you know how I feel about plastic. I'm not really bothered by the buttons and the dials being plastic, and I will give Zhiyun credit once again. The controls on this light and the buttons are very simple. They do exactly what you would expect them to do, which on past Zhiyun lights, you guys know that I had some issues with. It was just a little too complicated and convoluted just to get the light on. So none of that here. This is very straightforward. It's just on and off switch, and then color, temperature, brightness. That's it. You can also connect with an app, which is another one of the cons, is that this light does not come with a controller, so when it is up high, it is harder to control. I usually, when I'm working in the Zhiyun ecosystem, I'm using an app anyway, so this doesn't really bother me, but it is a consideration. Now, they do sell a controller module that you can add to this, so that is something that you can add. So it's not really a total fault of the light, but just know that it does not come with a lower controller. Another potential issue with the light is the cable just sort of plugs in here. There's nothing really holding it in, so there is potential for it to pull out. I usually loop it through here, or you could do something with a clamp to secure it to the stand. Another drawback of the light is that the fans do get very, very loud. So is this the light that you would use as a key light on your set? Yes, up until about 50%. After 5 minutes, the fan will kick on at 50%, but I think only just one of the fans. It's not too loud, but it is noticeable. So if you're not doing all the sort of audio magic in post with, noise reduction and whatever, you probably will pick up the fan noise. And then once you're at 100%, forget about it. The fan is very, very loud. So if you're doing high-end interviews with expensive clients, it's not necessarily the light for key lights. However, where I think this light is perfectly suited is for being sort of that punch through the window light, being a set light. You obviously need very, very bright lights for that. And honestly, this light almost wasn't quite even bright enough for some of those scenes punching through the window. But that being said, the fan noise doesn't really matter. And because of the lightweightness and the usability of this light, it's very easy to throw up on a stand outside and doesn't leave a massive footprint or consume tons and tons of power. So I think that that is sort of the niche for this light, is to be the bright, powerful set light. I mean, as a solo creator, doing the stuff that I'm doing of just kind of like filming around your house or filming yourself, this light's amazing for that, especially if you're doing MOS filming, so filming without sound. Forget about it. I mean, it's super bright. It's incredibly lightweight. This is going to become one of my go-tos, if not my go-to, for the videos that I do, no question. Because sound isn't a huge factor, and just the brightness, the maneuverability. I hate setting up little lights and then finding they're not bright enough and then having to go back and set up more stands, etc. So being able to start with an easily movable
high output light is fantastic. Lastly, the light does not come with a case, which is not the end of the world, but you know, it's nice to have a case. I think we're all kind of used to it at this point. I think it definitely keeps the price down to keep a case out of the equation, but it would be nice to have a case. Now, having said that, there's a video from another creator named, I think it's Say Park. Apologies if I'm messing up your name, but he recommended this case from DeWalt. He nailed it. It's a perfect fit. It's very inexpensive. So I highly recommend picking one of those up, and in some ways it's better than, you know, the cases that come with these lights typically. I'm gonna link to his video so you can click his affiliate link, and hopefully he can make some money off of that because it's his find and recommendation, so thank you, Say. But I really just wanted to give you my thoughts from the perspective of just having used it on this commercial. And I've also had this light for several months now, so I have a pretty good sense for it, but it's very straightforward. It's a very simple light, you know, color temperature, luminance, Bluetooth app, on-off switch, very bright. Do I love the plastic? Not really. I mean, if it were to fall over, I'd be a little concerned about it. Having said that, it is sort of a thicker, more durable plastic, and it keeps the weight down. So as long as you're on the C-stand, I think you'll be okay. Overall though, would I recommend this light despite the drawbacks? 1000% yes. To have a light this bright, this lightweight is pretty outstanding. I mean, my mind was blown. I texted my friends after I got this and I was like, I don't understand how this is possible. So if you're wanting to pick up this light, I have a link in the description. Thank you, Zhiyun, also for sending this light for me to try out and to show to you guys. Thank you guys as always for watching. I'm Scott Jeske, and if you like what you saw, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, comment. Talk to me. Let's talk. Let's do this. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.